Do you ever open your to-do list and feel overwhelmed before you even start? Tasks pile up, motivation drops, and suddenly procrastination feels inevitable. Most productivity advice tells you to push harder, finish faster, and clear everything as soon as possible. But psychology tells a very different story. What if the key to staying motivated isn't finishing tasks, but intentionally leaving them unfinished? There's a well-documented cognitive bias that explains why incomplete tasks linger in your mind, pulling your attention back to them again and again. When used correctly, this effect doesn't create stress. It creates momentum. It turns passive to-do lists into mental magnets, making even boring tasks feel harder to ignore and easier to return to. This isn't about tricking yourself. It's about working with how memory, attention, and motivation actually function. Welcome to LernXpress, where we uncover the brain's hidden mechanisms and turn them into practical advantages. In today's episode, the Zeigarnik Effect, Master Your To-Do List by Not Finishing. We're breaking down the psychology behind unfinished tasks and why your brain treats them differently. You'll learn how the Zeigarnik Effect keeps incomplete tasks active in memory, how it fuels sustained engagement, and why strategic incompletion can outperform brute force discipline. We'll look at the science behind the effect, real-world examples, and step-by-step strategies to use it deliberately, without increasing stress or burnout. By the end, you'll stop seeing procrastination as a failure of character and start using cognitive bias as a productivity tool. Because sometimes, the smartest way to finish more is to not finish yet. Let's define the Zeigarnik Effect. First identified in the 1920s by Soviet psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, the Zeigarnik Effect describes a reliable cognitive bias. Unfinished or interrupted tasks are remembered better than completed ones. Once a task is finished, the brain releases it. But when a task is left incomplete, it stays mentally active. In Zeigarnik's original experiments, participants worked on a series of simple tasks, puzzles, arithmetic problems, manual activities, with some tasks deliberately interrupted before completion. When later asked to recall what they had worked on, participants consistently remembered significantly more unfinished tasks than completed ones. The exact percentages vary across replications, but the core finding has held up for nearly a century. Why does this happen? At a cognitive level, unfinished tasks create a state of goal tension. The brain treats goals as open loops. When progress is interrupted, the loop stays open, keeping the task active in working memory. This lingering activation pulls attention back to the task, not through conscious effort, but automatically. Neuroscientifically, this effect is tied to how the brain handles anticipation and reward. Progress toward a goal activates dopaminergic circuits associated with motivation and expectancy. Completion resolves the loop and quiets the system. Interruption, however, sustains anticipation without closure, keeping motivational signals alive. Modern research supports this mechanism. Studies show that people are more likely to resume interrupted tasks, remember them better, and return to them spontaneously, especially when the interruption occurs after meaningful progress has begun. Importantly, the effect is strongest when tasks feel achievable and clearly defined. But there's a limit. When too many tasks are left open at once, the same mechanism that drives motivation can turn into cognitive overload. Instead of productive tension, the brain experiences stress and fragmentation. The Zeigarnik Effect works best when used strategically, not indiscriminately. The takeaway is subtle but powerful. Your brain is wired to seek closure, and unfinished tasks exploit that wiring. Used deliberately, this bias can transform procrastination into engagement. Used poorly, it creates anxiety. Next, we'll explore how to apply the Zeigarnik Effect correctly, so it pulls you forward instead of wearing you down. You encounter the Zeigarnik Effect constantly, often without realizing it. Think about TV cliffhangers. Episodes deliberately end in the middle of unresolved conflict, not after closure. That open loop creates psychological tension, pulling your attention forward and making the next episode hard to resist. Streaming platforms didn't invent binge watching. They simply learned to weaponize a century-old cognitive bias. The same principle drives video games. Unfinished levels, incomplete quests, and visible progress bars keep players returning. The brain treats these partial goals as unresolved problems, sustaining motivation until closure is reached. This effect shows up powerfully in everyday work as well. If you stop writing a report, in the middle of a paragraph, your brain keeps rehearsing what comes next. When you fully complete a task, the mental representation is archived and attention moves on. This is why returning to a half-finished task often feels easier than starting a new one from scratch. Even great creators understood this intuitively. Ernest Hemingway famously stopped writing mid-sentence, leaving a clear point of continuation. The next day, momentum came naturally, not through discipline, but through unfinished cognitive tension pulling him back into the work. This is where the productivity advantage emerges. Instead of fighting procrastination head-on, the Zeigarnik Effect allows you to reverse the dynamic. By intentionally leaving tasks open, but clearly defined, you transform avoidance into attraction. The task stays mentally active, making re-engagement easier and more automatic. Research in goal psychology supports this. Incomplete goals maintain higher accessibility in memory and increase the likelihood of resumption, particularly for complex, multi-step tasks. The key is that the task must feel achievable and structured, not vague or overwhelming. Used correctly, the Zeigarnik Effect turns your to-do list from a source of dread into a source of pull. Now, let's break down exactly how to use this effect deliberately, step by step, without creating stress or overload. Step 1. Break tasks into meaningful chunks. For large projects, writing a report, drafting a book, or preparing a presentation, stop at a natural midpoint. Leaving a chapter, section, or segment incomplete creates a mental pull, keeping the task active in working memory and making it easier to resume. Step 2. Time your interruptions strategically. Use focused work intervals, like 25-minute Pomodoro sessions, and stop slightly before completion. This preserves the Zeigarnik tension, maintaining motivation while avoiding fatigue. Step 3. Limit open loops too many. Unfinished tasks at once can backfire, creating stress and cognitive overload. Keep no more than 3 to 5 active open loops. Complete minor or trivial tasks fully to reduce clutter in working memory. Step 4. Use tools to support memory and cues. Digital productivity apps like Todoist or Trello can flag in-progress items, keeping them salient without overwhelming attention. Journaling unfinished tasks at the end of the day also offloads cognitive load while maintaining mental engagement for tomorrow. Step 5. Combine with other productivity strategies. pair unfinished tasks with habit stacking or environmental cues. For example, prepping gym clothes without immediately exercising builds anticipation and primes follow-through. Linking open loops to existing routines leverages both the Zeigarnik Effect and habitual behavior. In conclusion, the Zeigarnik Effect isn't a flaw in your mind. It's a productivity superpower. When used strategically, leaving tasks unfinished enhances recall, sustains motivation, and fuels flow. By designing your work with open loops and structured interruptions, you stop fighting procrastination and start letting your brain do the heavy lifting. Mastering this simple cognitive bias lets you tame your to-do list with ease, turning obligation into drive and overwhelm into momentum. How will you use the Zeigarnik Effect today? Share your strategy in the comments. Your tip could inspire someone else to work smarter. If this episode boosted your productivity mindset, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more neuroscience-backed life hacks. Thanks for watching. Now go leave something unfinished on purpose.